Against? That's carried. Okay, that brings us to public forum. And we've got two today. We've got Helen Broughton speaking about medium density housing and Don Gould about the sewage treatment plant. So Helen, I might invite you up first. Now you've got 5 minutes, but I don't know whether you can see the timer. So I'll bing the bell.
I'll just speak. So I haven't got anything prepared.
Great. What I'll do though is I'll let you know at 4 minutes, so you've got a minute left.
Thank you.
Great.
Good, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm coming to speak to you today in light of the fact that there's been a change of position by one of the major parties should they take power, and that is the removal of medium density housing across the board. I believe that it'll be welcomed by a lot of the public. And just before I touch on a process going forward, I just want to say that Riccarton in particular is not so affected by this because the main concern people have is 6 stories. So the 5 residents groups who represent Riccarton do have the threat, if I call it, of 6 stories. So I'm talking more generally, basically now. And how do you as a council handle this process going forward? It's kind of a curved ball. I've done submissions in the 2015 plan, both myself and with Mike Moira. We canvassed a lot of subjects. I've got some idea of the actual process. At present, staff are collating submissions, then there's cross submissions, then there's the possibility of further comments, there's the possibility of mediation, then council come to a view on it, council staff, and then it goes to a hearing in October. My view is that you probably have to continue as you are at this stage, but I would move the hearings panel out 4 to 6 weeks. They're planning to sit in October. If you move them out 4 to 6 weeks, it would give you a chance then to reflect as to where you go if there is a change of government. And I think you could change that panel. There's 4 to 5 or 6 people on that panel. It would just be moving that forward. It would then move your finish date forward too, but I presume that's not set in legislation. I presume you could discuss that with central government. So that's really all I sort of wish to say on it, basically. It's just a way of going forward which keeps you honouring what central government currently has asked, but it also gives you the option of change, because it's not a popular move with, in fact, residents, medium density throughout the whole city if you haven't got a qualifying matter. So that's it, thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Helen. I think Aaron had did you have a question? Oh, you didn't. You just.
She answered it then.
Oh, Sarah does. Great.
Thanks, Helen. I'm just wondering, when you say that it's not popular with residents, are you talking about homeowners rather than renters? So
probably, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and probably people 30 plus who have some investment in their property.
Yeah. So what about those people who might be renters or younger, who are looking for affordable homes that are close to the city?
Well, our council, the council paper, this is section 34, states there's no evidence it will make homes affordable. I think that's the wish, but whether there's any evidence for that, and our own staff are saying.
Yeah, I think you might want to look at the stuff that's coming from
Let's not debate it, Sarah, but we're here to ask respectful questions. Tim.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Now that it's actually been mentioned in public, I think that we get some information out to the public with regards to the process, because what dates can, what's legislative and that type of thing, because that is a quagmire. I mean, you had been at council for a long time, and as you know, the bureaucracy is an amazing machine. So it would be really good to make it clear, the process and the timing, what we actually can control.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. No, that's really useful. So just so I'm really clear in my mind, you're effectively what you're asking for is a bit of advice on if we can push that hearings panel back just a
Yes,
fraction to see what the outcome of
and
the
I
election
have
is.
given, I mean, it's a bit of a curveball, this, isn't it? And so, and we don't know who will win the election. I mean, one can think one knows, but we actually don't know. So you won't know till the October 14th. So, and you might know a month before through polls, but it gives you some ability to change direction if council wishes to.
Okay, hey, look, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming in and doing that, Helen, and we'll definitely get some advice. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, brilliant. Okay, next up is Don Gould. Now, Don, you've got a PowerPoint, I understand, and we've got James is online now, so Zoom's working. Hey, James. And we've got your PowerPoint up there too.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam, I spoke to Don about this last night and he was a little bit worried about time pressures. Is there any chance that if he may be able to possibly go slightly over the 5 if he needs to?
I think so. Let's see how he goes with the 5 minutes that's there.
Okay, thank you.
But Don, that isn't a license to take 15 minutes. Because I know how you operate and I respect how you operate, but you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Sam. I didn't actually intend on running over the 5 minutes personally, but I did raise the issue with Aaron because the members may have questions, which I'm happy to address. But let's jump into this. I seem to be back here looking at sewage treatment plant issues again. This is the least favourite place I would like to be, especially in a week where I've just thrown up a PowerPoint presentation of social media content that is just not okay. Residents are still expressing frustrations and concerns, especially with an email that went out yesterday telling them that the air rating solution is simply not working. The smell is growing, the methyl mercaptan and sodium hydrogen chloride, whatever those things are back in the air. And they haven't abated. We asked for a timeline. It's time to reach out for some more help. We asked for a timeline. It fell on deaf ears. We feel like we're being managed. We're outgunned by clever managers that are managing the community rather than listening to our concerns. The community is being held economic hostage. I'll explain that a bit more. Without the sort of plan and timeframe, residents can't move on. We don't have any certainty. And we know that the stench doesn't bother some people, but it really, really, really does bother a small minority group. Residents are being held in limbo. We've got fake promises of it's in the hands of the insurance. It's not okay. We're looking at the question of whether we reach out across the globe for some answers. If you crash your car, it's easy. Just ask the person next door to you, how long does it take to settle an insurance claim? Everybody knows the answer to that, a couple of weeks at most. How long does it take to settle a $100 million insurance claim? That one's a bit more difficult. None of us at the table here have ever had one of those personally. I'd love to say I'm going to, but it's not really a reality, is it? How long does it take to plan a sewage treatment plant for 400,000 people? Now, these are simple questions that a community would actually, in my view, benefit from having some answers to. So they've got some comfort and understanding so they can start planning their lives again, which they can't at present. When your city has had a disaster, did your government buy out impacted residents or keep them locked in their assets? Those are questions that we'd like to perhaps potentially ask people around the world. I'll just move on from that one. I've forgotten what I was trying to say to that point. Who can we talk to? The logical people for us to talk to as councils and government around the world, because we're not getting answers at this table. We need a sanity check. Is it reasonable for people to live in stench for years? So our community needs some perspective from what is happened in other locations and how long should they expect to carry on. Obviously, the earthquakes gives us quite a large precedent. And that was really breaking point for a lot of people, and it caused a huge amount of mental health harm. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. There was an email sent to all members earlier in the week from one community advocate who spoke of he's been reached out to by a guy who is literally at suicidal breaking point, and that is not okay to see happening in our community. Who should we check for sanity? People around the world. Well, I think I've just covered that really, so I'll move on quickly. A year ago, I didn't like what I saw in a Zoom meeting, one of our residents in tears. I rose up some social media groups, I created some websites, I hosted some public meetings, I spent time, months, sitting in this chair. I was given assurances, I was given apologies. Why? This week, I've just explained that, the plea for residents, it's garnished my anger and energy again, frankly. What do I want? I've already told you what I want, but I'll tell you again. I want a plan, I want a time frame, I want some reasonable expectations. Now, I also want an exit strategy for those who don't want to stay. Housing New Zealand in my area has had a house closed with no tenants in it for 1.5 years, pending them sorting out the arrangements with the people next door so they can actually redevelop the whole block. This same sort of issue is, it's a case of a burden being placed across the whole society, not just the individuals. And that's my...
That definitely took you less than 5 minutes, Don. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions, Don? So we'll go Celeste and then Aaron and then we'll... Yeah.
Thank you. It's really helpful to hear from you. And in terms of the... Because we've obviously, it's been ongoing for a long period of time. In terms of the comms and the outreach is separate to the insurance side of things. Are there things that you think have worked well and things that have worked less well?
Yeah, there's just been a, that will come back in a report to you, Celeste, because there's been an independent review commissioned and we spent 2.5 hours, and if the chair will humour me about 2.5 hours, I'll run you through all those. Otherwise, we could perhaps pick that up offline. But in fact, there are lots of people that have given feedback on what was good, what wasn't so good, what worked, what didn't work. One of the things we said that is probably pertinent when we spoke to them is that we felt then that turning up here to give you guys a mandate helps you guys to go back to staff, and it helps staff as well with understanding, yes, there is a reason to act. It doesn't want to let you ask a question.
I saw Mark put his hand up as well. Don actually chewed me here for 40 minutes last night, so Mark can have
Okay,
mine.
we'll mark and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Don, just wanted to pick up on that point with the gentleman that was at breaking point. Has he found some way of carrying on?
Yeah, Stephen McPake was a community advocate that he reached out to, and Stephen's got a lot of background and experience with men's mental health and linking people to support. And I do note that the council sent out an email yesterday which included information, links to information on where to get support. But the point, Mark, is that we shouldn't have people getting to this breaking point. We should be giving them some certainty with a plan and a time frame, because with a plan it means if, for example, you say it's going to take 3 years before we can get a tender in the market for a thing that we've designed, and here's a proposal that will need to be engaged on, then people can then go, okay, I can live with that, or they can go, I can't live with that. I know for my own mental health it might cost me $200,000 to dump this house now or do something different, but it'll save my life. Yes. Whereas what they're doing at present is they're going, oh, the council will be there shortly. They'll be there soon, won't they? Will they? And then they break, and then it's too late. Yep. Yeah. We don't want to be there, Mark. No.
Okay, no, I think that's probably enough on this one. But I mean, they are public forums, so it's usually 5 minutes. But I think given the importance, Don, can I just thank you for coming in and raising the issue? It's something that's on the top of our mind. We had a session on it yesterday, and there are some challenges we're working through in terms of the recent events out at the plant, which will be expected to communicate in the coming weeks. And in terms of the insurance, there are 4 of us who sit around this table who have been delegated the ability, in consultation with the Chief Executive, to manage the insurance. So at this point, it's not appropriate to comment on it, but I can give you the assurance that it's being worked through in a considered way that gives us a long-term outcome for the city that everyone will be proud of. So thank you for coming in, and we will continue to communicate. But the points that Celeste and I think Mark have raised are really valid, and I know the team will take them away as well. So thank you for coming in.
You're welcome, Sam. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great.